Imagine a clear winter day, the kind where the sky stretches endlessly, promising a routine flight. It's December 5, 1945, and from a naval air station in Florida, a squadron of 5 military aircraft lifts off, destined for a standard training mission over the Atlantic. These weren't untested planes or novice pilots. Yet, within hours, something would go terribly wrong. Communication faltered, confusion reigned, and then, silence. They would simply vanish. Later, as the sun began to set, a rescue aircraft was dispatched into the deepening twilight, a desperate attempt to find the missing men. But in a twist of fate that would defy all logic, it too would disappear without a trace. To this day, neither the planes nor the 27 men aboard have ever been found. Was this a tragic navigational error, or the beginning of one of history's greatest mysteries? Our story begins at Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station, Florida, a bustling hub for naval aviation. The 5 aircraft were Grumman TBM Avengers, formidable torpedo bombers. To understand their role, think of them as the heavy hitters of their time, designed to carry torpedoes and bombs, serving crucial roles in World War II. On this particular day, they were not on a combat mission, but a navigation training exercise. This means the pilots practiced flying a specific route using instruments and charts, much like following a detailed map in an unfamiliar city. The mission was designed to sharpen their skills for future operations, ensuring they could navigate accurately even far out at sea. Leading Flight 19 was Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, an experienced pilot with over 2,500 flight hours, though he was relatively new to the Fort Lauderdale area. The other pilots were student aviators, still honing their skills, but all were capable. The planned mission was a routine 3-hour flight, covering a triangular route. The first leg would take them due east from Fort Lauderdale for 56 miles, where they would drop practice bombs. The second leg involved flying north for 67 miles, and the final leg was a straight shot southwest back to the base. This was a common exercise, meant to be straightforward. The weather forecast was clear, and the aircraft were fueled and inspected. Everything seemed to be in order for a successful training run. What could possibly go wrong? The flight departed at 2:10 p.m. For the first hour and a half, everything proceeded as planned. The Avengers reached their bombing target, dropped their practice ordnance, and then turned north for the second leg. It was around 3:45 p.m. when Fort Lauderdale Tower intercepted a perplexing radio transmission. Lieutenant Taylor, rather than instructing his students, was asking for their compass readings. He sounded disoriented, reporting that both his compasses had failed. Now, a compass is an instrument that shows direction, vital for navigation. For a pilot, losing both compasses is like driving blind in an unknown city. This was the first clear indication that a routine mission was rapidly devolving into a serious emergency, far out over the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. The radio transmissions became increasingly frantic and confused. Taylor informed the tower that he was unsure of his position, stating, "I don't know where we are. We must have gone off course." He believed they were somewhere over the Florida Keys, a chain of islands to the south of their actual position. However, ground control believed Taylor was actually much further east, over the Atlantic, far from any landmass. This discrepancy was critical. Taylor was instructed to turn west, but he stubbornly believed west would take them further into the Gulf of Mexico, away from land. The students in his flight chimed in, equally disoriented, their voices laced with growing anxiety. The situation was deteriorating rapidly, not just due to mechanical failure, but profound navigational confusion amplified by a vast, featureless ocean. As the afternoon wore on, the weather, initially clear, began to worsen. A cold front was moving in, bringing with it increasing cloud cover, strong winds, and choppy seas. These conditions would make visual navigation, already difficult with failing instruments, nearly impossible. Without a reliable compass, pilots often resort to dead reckoning, estimating their position based on their last known location, speed, and direction. But with strong winds pushing them, and no fixed reference points on the ocean, dead reckoning becomes incredibly unreliable. The pilots were effectively lost in a vast, featureless expanse, battling not just mechanical issues but the relentless forces of nature. The communication from Flight 19 became sporadic, punctuated by static and the sound of increasing panic among the aircrews. As evening approached, the transmissions from Flight 19 became increasingly fragmented and desperate. At one point, a student pilot was heard saying, "We are entering white water, we are completely lost." This chilling phrase suggested they were flying low, close to the ocean surface, likely in rough weather. Another pilot from the flight chimed in, "It looks like we don't know where we are." The last coherent message from Lieutenant Taylor was heard around 6:04 p.m., relaying conflicting directions and continued uncertainty about their location. The voices grew weaker, filled with palpable despair, eventually fading into static. The tower tried repeatedly to establish contact, but their calls went unanswered. The silence that followed was deafening, signaling a grim end to what had begun as a simple training flight. As darkness fell, the urgency mounted. Rescue teams on land scrambled to triangulate Flight 19's position using the faint radio signals, but Taylor's confusing messages and the plane's apparent erratic movements made precise location impossible. Imagine trying to pinpoint a tiny dot in a colossal ocean with only fuzzy, intermittent whispers. Fuel was the most pressing concern. The TBM Avengers carried enough fuel for approximately 3 to 4 hours of flight. By the time their transmissions faded, they were well past their expected fuel endurance. Without fuel, these powerful aircraft become powerless gliders, eventually succumbing to the waves. The probability of ditching, making a controlled landing on water, was high. But even a successful ditching would mean being adrift in the vast, cold Atlantic, leaving little hope for survival as night deepened. With Flight 19 presumed down, one of the largest air and sea rescue operations in naval history was launched. 2 Martin PBM Mariner flying boats, also known as flying fuel tanks due to their volatile aviation gas, were dispatched. These large, twin-engine seaplanes were ideal for search and rescue over water. At 7:27 p.m., one of these Mariners, with a crew of 13 aboard, took off from Banana River Naval Air Station. Its mission, to search the area where Flight 19 was last believed to be. But just 20 minutes into its flight, the Mariner, call sign Training 49, vanished. Eyewitnesses on a nearby ship reported seeing an aerial explosion and a massive fireball in the sky. It was a horrifying spectacle, adding a terrifying new dimension to the already unfolding tragedy. The rescuers themselves now needed rescuing. The disappearance of Flight 19 and the rescue Mariner triggered an unprecedented search effort. Over the next 5 days, more than 300 aircraft and dozens of ships, including submarines, scoured over 300,000 square miles of the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. This was a massive undertaking, utilizing every available resource. But despite the monumental scale, no wreckage, no debris, no oil slicks, and no survivors from either Flight 19 or the Mariner were ever found. It was as if the aircraft and their crews had simply dissolved into thin air. The sheer lack of any physical evidence only served to deepen the mystery, turning a terrible accident into an enduring enigma that captivated the world's imagination. One of the most widely accepted theories attributes the loss of Flight 19 to a series of navigational errors compounded by Lieutenant Taylor's disorientation. Proponents suggest Taylor, unfamiliar with the specific islands and coastlines of the Florida region, mistook small islands for the Florida Keys. This misidentification would explain his insistence on flying east when ground control urged him west. In this scenario, as darkness fell and fuel dwindled, the planes simply flew further and further out to sea until they ran out of fuel and ditched. The rough seas and lack of light would have quickly swallowed any wreckage, leaving no trace. It's a tragic, plausible explanation rooted in human error and the unforgiving nature of the open ocean. Closely linked to navigational error is the theory of severe weather and fuel exhaustion. As we discussed, a cold front moved into the area that afternoon. If Flight 19 was indeed lost far from land, they would have been flying through rapidly deteriorating conditions, heavy rain, strong winds, and zero visibility. These conditions make accurate navigation almost impossible, even for experienced pilots. With their compasses potentially malfunctioning and no visual cues, the planes would have eventually run out of fuel. The Avengers would have ditched in the raging storm, breaking apart almost immediately on impact with the churning waves. The ocean, particularly during a storm, is a powerful force, capable of erasing all evidence. This theory suggests a combination of factors, each amplifying the others to a catastrophic conclusion. Another theory focuses on mechanical failure. Lieutenant Taylor explicitly reported that both his compasses were out. While this might sound improbable, aircraft systems, even on relatively new planes, could and did fail. A cascade of failures, compasses, radios, or even altimeters, could have utterly disoriented the flight leader and his students. For example, if the compasses indeed malfunctioned, and then the radios began to cut in and out, the pilots would have been completely isolated and without guidance. The PBM Mariner's loss, believed to be an explosion due to its volatile fuel vapors, also points to potential mechanical issues of the era. This theory suggests that technology, rather than a mysterious force, simply failed these brave airmen when they needed it most. For many, the disappearance of Flight 19 isn't just a tragic accident, it's the cornerstone of a much larger, more ominous phenomenon, the Bermuda Triangle. This infamous region, roughly bounded by Bermuda, Miami, and Puerto Rico, has been associated with an unusually high number of unexplained disappearances of ships and aircraft. Stories range from strange electromagnetic anomalies interfering with instruments, to powerful rogue waves, even extraterrestrial abductions. The sheer lack of wreckage from Flight 19, coupled with the vanishing rescue plane, seemed to defy conventional explanation, fueling the mystique. For believers, Flight 19 was not merely lost, it was taken, pulled into an unknown dimension or consumed by an unearthly force lurking beneath the waves. This theory offers a captivating, albeit speculative, answer to the overwhelming silence. Beyond the more conventional and the highly speculative, there remain the unknown explanations. Could it be a combination of factors that, when taken together, created a perfect storm of disaster? Perhaps Lieutenant Taylor, experiencing spatial disorientation, a phenomenon where a pilot loses their sense of true orientation, made a series of critical errors under stress. Or maybe some unique, localized weather phenomenon, far more severe than reported, utterly overwhelmed the flight. Some suggest a sudden, severe waterspout could have engulfed one or more planes, quickly followed by the others. Without any wreckage or black box data, we are left to piece together a puzzle with missing pieces, forever speculating about the exact sequence of events that led to such a complete and utter disappearance. The human mind seeks closure, but sometimes, only questions remain. The disappearance of Flight 19 on December 5, 1945, is more than just an aviation tragedy, it's a profound cultural touchstone. It etched itself into the public consciousness as the definitive story that solidified the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. It became the quintessential tale of planes vanishing without a trace, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and debates. Even today, naval aviators study the incident as a cautionary tale in navigation and decision-making. The absence of any wreckage continues to fuel speculation, making it a powerful symbol of the unknown and the limits of human understanding in the face of nature's immense power. It reminds us that even with advanced technology, the ocean can still hold its secrets forever. 5 aircraft, each a powerful Grumman TBM Avenger. 14 skilled airmen, including an experienced flight leader and his students. 1 rescue plane, a Martin PBM Mariner, with a crew of 13, sent on a mission of hope. And then, 27 men, gone without a trace, swallowed by the vast, enigmatic waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Despite one of the most extensive search operations in naval history, not a single piece of debris was ever definitively recovered. The confusing radio calls, the failed navigation, the vanished rescuer, these elements combine into a narrative that continues to baffle and intrigue. The disappearance of Flight 19 remains one of aviation's greatest unsolved mysteries, a silent testament to the enduring power of the unknown. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you believe happened to Flight 19? Share your theories in the comments below.